Today on Making It with Chef Cheri, we're making waffle fries guilt-free by using sweet potatoes that are packed full of nutrients and by baking instead of frying. We're also making them hassle-free by making use of an exceptionally well-designed mandolin, compliments of Gramercy Kitchen. So let's get started, shall we? Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel and welcome back to my kitchen. Before we get started on the waffle fries, I want to take just a minute and talk to you about mandolins, like what they are, what they do, like the good, the bad, the ugly, what you should look for and what you should stay away from should you be in the market for one of these really handy kitchen tools. So at its most basic level, a mandolin is just, it's a food slicer. And so you might wonder, well, why would I want that versus just using my chef's knife? Especially if it's like really sharp and I'm really good at it, right? Well, I'm not good at it, but you might be. And I would say there's two main reasons. One is efficiency. And the second one is uniformity. So efficiency, I can tell you that a mandolin slicer, depending on what you're making, sometimes can probably save you hours of prep time. It's just so much quicker and it's so much easier. And like again, the second reason, uniformity, is important because whenever you're slicing your vegetables, you want them all to be the same size. You don't want to have a thin slice, like a super thick slice, two paper thin slices. You want them all to be the same. And that's important not just for presentation. Let's say you're making a like shingled fruit tart or you're doing a platter of some sort and you want them all to look the same. That's nice for presentation, obviously, but it's more important for cooking. If your food is chopped and is sliced even, it will cook even. So that is very, very important. When it comes to purchasing one of these, I would say the two biggest things to look for, or two biggest things, the things that make the most difference is safety and ease of use. So you should feel comfortable using it. I think I have had a total of 4 mandolins now, and the first one I don't quite remember where I bought it. I want to say it could have been Aldi's, and as a general rule of thumb anymore, I kind of steer clear of Aldi's when it comes to kitchen tools. And I say tools because I have some of their bamboo utensils I liked, and there are some of the other things for the kitchen that I really like my enameled cast iron pots and pans. I really like those from there. But as far as kitchen tools, I bought a spiralizer. I cut myself up. Let's just say I've had some bad luck and some bad experiences. So and they've actually had a few things that were Pampered Chef knockoffs. And I thought, well, that's cool because, so the design was there, but the construction was not. The way it was actually made was not good. So again, I stay away from there. And I think that may have been where I bought the first one. Like the food holder was really chintzy. It just didn't feel safe. I got rid of it. And so the second one I went to Walmart, I believe, and bought like a $35, $40 one. And I was really happy with that one. The only difference with that was, I should say the only problem I have, there's a couple of different things. For one, it was a V-shaped slicer, and I did like that. I don't know that it makes that much of a difference versus just like a diagonal blade on here. But the way it worked was, they all work the same way. You just push the food forward and the blade cuts it. And then you move this part up or down, and depending on how close it is to the blade will make your slices thicker or thinner. With the one that I bought at Walmart, though, this piece right here actually came out, and it had different sizes of these. So depending on the thickness, the thicker this was, the thinner your slice would be. And so instead of moving this little thing here back and forth, you would actually take this piece out, and it had a thing that was, over here. It was the same size as this. So this had legs on it and it stood up. And then you had another like shaped thing just like this where these things came out and they stored in there. So you had like 2 different types of julienne cuts, and then you had like 3 regular cuts. So like this one, you're kind of limited. You can't make it paper thin. You only have certain settings. But the thing that I really hated about it was like this huge bulky thing, especially in our old house. I just didn't have the room for it. And so when I started selling Pampered Chef, I ran into this one, which I've had for several years. And if I'm being honest, I still really like this one. It's just, you're kind of limited with it. Let's just say that. So they all kind of have pros and cons, except this one. I really haven't found a con. Maybe one little thing. Yeah, just one. Anyway, with this one, I was really happy because, again, it saves a lot of space, but I'm limited. As a matter of fact, I can't even do a julienne cut or a waffle cut. I can't do any kind of special cut just a straight cut. That's all I can do. And I can only do 3 different sizes. So if I want to do some really thick onion rings, not going to happen. If I want to do some paper thin, like zucchini strips for like lasagna roll-ups or something, Not going to happen. Like I just have the 3 settings. And I also thought this was really kind of genius is they all come with a food holder. So that is for safety purposes, obviously. But this one comes with a food holder. So this slides on here. Actually, I don't know what it's called, but it's a food holder. So here's your food holder. You put your food in here and then you put this, it slides down over the top and your food goes inside that little round hole. So this actually holds the holder, like I said, and you slide it back and forth. So it's great for safety. But what I found was I couldn't cut anything that was bigger than this circle. Like sometimes I had to cut my potatoes to get them to cut in, you know, to fit inside the circle. So that I didn't care for too much. So a lot of times I would just use it without that and I would just simply use the food holder. And if I'm being honest, sometimes I didn't use the food holder. But anyway, so this is the one I've been using forever, which brings us to the one that I received last week, compliments of Gramercy Kitchen. So they reached out to me. They wanted me to do a review of this. I just couldn't help myself. Like as soon as it came in, I wanted to use it. So I made waffle fries because I haven't had one that had the waffle cutter on it. So I was super excited about that. And I had to get it out straight away and use it. I didn't have time to set up a camera or anything like that. So of course it comes with really easy to use instructions. And I also looked at the reviews on Amazon for this. And there were a couple of people who said the instructions were no good. And I forgot what they said about the instructions, but basically they weren't of any help at all. And so I did not find that to be true. So I don't know if they've revamped the instructions or if the people that reviewed it just didn't know how to read. I don't know because it was very, very easy to, it's very easy to use. So again, you want something that's easy to use, easy to set up, easy to clean. You also want something you feel really safe with. You want something that's going to give you multiple cuts. And you also want something that's not going to take up a lot of space. And this hits all the marks for me, like checks all the boxes. And the thing that I like about this is you're not messing with the blades. Again, it's a really simple design and it doesn't take up a lot of space. So it has legs like the second one that I mentioned. So it sits up like that, but the second one, it didn't fold away like this one does. So that I really like. I appreciate the fact that it's going to save me a little bit of space in the drawer or in the pantry or wherever I'm going to put this thing. So this one does give you multiple cuts. And the way you do that is you push in this dial right here. Okay, and so when you push it in, you're able to turn it. And so it goes from a straight cut. Now, if you can see those little things that popped up there, all those little tiny blades, that's what's going to give you like that matchstick, that julienne cut. And you can go from a small one like that, or you push it in again, and it'll flip one more time. And now you see you have bigger blades on there. So it gives you a bigger julienne cut. So it goes from a plain straight cut to, whoops, the little one, to again the big one. So it's just spinning under there. It's just turning around. But what I like about when you do just the straight cut, you can get, I forget, it's like paper thin all the way to like 9 millimeters. I don't remember, but if I'm looking at it, right there is probably about the thickest. I don't know if you can see that very well, but I would say that is definitely bigger than the Pampered Chef one I've been using. And if I push it in again and again, we can get this like super like paper thin. As a matter of fact, let's grab a tomato of all things. Let's get a ripe tomato out of here. So I have not cut a tomato with this. So this will show you guys how sharp the blade is. So all you do is, and I'm not going to bother washing this. I'm not going to bother eating it either. I'm just going to show you this for, you know, purposes of seeing how sharp the blade is and how thin we can get this. So you push the food down into there and then you hold it. And then we're just going to, right like that. And look at those teeny tiny slices. Yeah, you know how hard it is to cut a tomato. Normally, you have to have like a serrated knife. That's usually what I use when I'm cutting tomatoes. Matter of fact, let's see if we can go, I mean, that's pretty darn thin. Let's see if we can make it even thinner, though. Let's push it up a tiny bit. And again. Look at those. Look how thin that is. Isn't that awesome? And, of course, if you want them thicker, we just move the blade the other way, and I'll show you how thick you can make it. So that makes some decent sized onion rings. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'm happy about that. I'm actually just gonna toss this over here. My trash can's not over there. I'm gonna wipe our counter down just a little bit. Wipe my blade off a tiny bit there. And so to do the waffle cut, so this is what I was really super excited about. all you do is lift up this little tab here, push that out of the way, and you'll see that the waffle cutter is right here. So this is a regular blade, and then the settings for the julienne is over here. So again, over here you have a straight cut, a small julienne, and a large julienne. And then if you want a waffle cut, you make sure this is set to a straight cut on this side, and you push this knob in. Both knobs work the same. You just push them in and turn. And basically when you push this in and turn, you just flip it, and there is our waffle cutter there. And then you just fold that back over. So this is ready to cut waffle fries. But before I show you that, I think I forgot to mention it comes with a little tool, right, like this, which is great for getting in those little places and getting it clean. Because if you're like me, you don't have a dishwasher, you have to make sure you get in there and clean it really well. But it is, if you do have a dishwasher, it is top shelf dishwasher safe. So that is good to know. The other thing it comes with is a pair of gloves. If I'm being honest, these aren't my favorite thing in the world. I almost kind of wish they didn't include them. And I think it's a nice gesture, but I feel like it gives people a false sense of safety, that I wouldn't want anyone to think that because they have the gloves on that they don't have to use this, because guaranteed if you have these on your hand and you run your hand across that blade, it's going to take the glove and your finger. So again, I think it's a nice little thing to include, but maybe not for safety reasons. I would maybe use them for something else. I'm not sure. So I'm going to set those aside. You definitely want to make sure that you use your food holder though. But first we need to cut our potato. So I got a bowl of water here. We're going to stick our potatoes in. And got a little bit of seasoning there. So I'm going to use, I'm trying to pull this up off of here. I don't think it really matters right now. I just need to cut this potato in half. And so instead of cutting straight down, cutting it in half, you want to cut it at an angle like this. The more of an angle you cut it at, the longer those fries are going to be, the bigger they're going to be. If you cut it straight down, they're all going to be perfect little circles. So you want to cut at an angle. So I'll go ahead and toss that in the sink. Put this over here. I'm going to set this aside for just a second. We won't need that quite yet. I got a big bowl of water here. And all we're going to do is take our sweet potato. Again, we're going to push it down onto these little prongs here. And what I'm going to do is slide it down just like that. And then you want to turn it. So that's the trick with the waffle fries, is turning it. So cut, turn, cut, turn, cut. Stop. I'm making this look harder than what it is because it's really, really, really easy. And as you can see, there are all of our little waffle cuts. I'm going to set that aside. We'll grab a bigger piece here. I'm going to take this one out. There we go. And so I'm going to push this back down on there again. So again, cut, and then it's like a 45-degree angle. And you cut again. Turn it, cut again. Turn it, cut again. Cut again. Turn it, cut again. And that's all you got to do is just kind of keep turning it back and forth. There we go. Now we got some momentum going. And there's some that are a little bit thicker. These are almost perfect, actually. So what was I going to mention? Oh, this part here. So talking about pros and cons of this one. This one here, as you can see, this is almost twice the size of this one. You want a lot of space at the bottom of here. You don't want to just, you know, sometimes your vegetable might be this big. You don't want to not get to the end of slicing your vegetable before you're hitting the countertop, you know, and interrupt that cut. You want it to be a nice, big, smooth surface. I think it's wider too, isn't it? Yes, it is, just a little bit. So that is our slicer, but isn't that super cool how it cuts those? Again, I didn't think it would actually cut a waffle cut. I thought it was just going to make like a wave like this, but you have to turn it, and that's what gives them those little holes there. It all makes sense to me now. It all makes sense. So all we're going to do now is, so here's some tricks to getting some crispy waffle fries, is to soak them in water. Even sweet potatoes. You want to get some of that extra starch out of there. So the first step is to, and I'll just give you my tips here on making like homemade fries if you want them really crispy. Soak your fries. Soak your fries. Change that water out every 30 minutes. Do that for a couple of hours or let them soak overnight, again, to get that extra starch out. And then the second thing with French fries, if you're going to fry these, is fry them twice. So you fry them the first time at about 300, 325, and basically what you're doing is cooking that potato, and then you take them out of the grease or the oil and you let them sit, and you turn your oil up to like 375 and you fry them again. The second time is to make it crispy. So those two things will make your fries super crispy. Anyway, these are sweet potato fries, so these are a little less guilty, I guess I would say. They are packed with nutrients, and we're going to do these in the oven versus frying them. But the first thing we want to do is let these soak. So I'm going to go ahead and put these in the fridge for at least 30 minutes, and then we will get started on the second step. Okay, so our sweet potatoes have finished soaking. The next thing I want to do is grab a clean dish towel, and we are going to spread these out on here. So we're just going to kind of do that in a single layer. And then once we've got them all laid out, we're going to blot these dry with a paper towel. See if I can get all of them to fit on here. Got just a few more in here. And it looks like I have a little bit of extra water at the bottom of the bowl. So I'm going to get rid of that. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a couple of paper towels, and first we're going to blot this dry. And I'm going to do this to both sides. So once I've got this side, I'm just going to go ahead and flip these over real quick, just because I'm not sure how much moisture the dish towel absorbed, but we want to get as much moisture off of these as we can. And that will help make them crispy. And there we go. All right, so I'm going to use this towel also just to wipe out any extra moisture that's in the bottom of this bowl. And then we're going to toss them back in the bowl. Carefully, I don't want to break them. Get rid of this. And then I have a couple of tablespoons of olive oil that we're just going to drizzle over the top. Kind of toss them very gently. Again, we don't want to break them, but we kind of want to make sure they're all coated a little bit. All right, so that was a couple tablespoons of olive oil. And then in here, I have a little bit of seasoning. So 2 tablespoons olive oil, and then in here is 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, and 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. So I'm going to kind of sprinkle that on, kind of toss them a little bit. There we go. And so I'm just going to keep tossing these until I don't see any seasoning left at the bottom of the bowl, and I feel like they all kind of have an even coat on them. And then once they are coated really, really nicely, I'm going to go ahead and take my pan. I would normally put these on wax paper, not wax paper, parchment paper, but I'm out of that as well. So we're just going to give these a good spray, or give this tray a good spray, I should say. And then I'm just going to lay these out individually. So again, getting that, it's kind of funny, getting that extra starch out of there, letting them soak in the water, that's going to help make them crispy. And then by coating them with cornstarch, isn't it funny? You take it out and put it back in. But actually, we're not putting it back in, we're coating it. So I think that's the difference. It's not in the potato, it's on the outside. So the cornstarch, second thing that makes it crunchy. And then the third thing is going to be because we are putting these in a single layer. So if they're stacked on top of each other, they are just going to steam. And they won't actually bake. They won't get crispy. So we want to make sure they're all in a nice, even layer. So I've got the oven set to 400 degrees, and I'm going to bake them for about 25 minutes, but I want to keep an eye on them. For one, about halfway through, I want to flip them over. But the other thing I want to do is, because we adjusted the thickness as we were cutting, some of these are like super thin. Other ones are kind of thicker. So I kind of want to keep an eye on that, and any of them that I see finish cooking before the other ones, go ahead and take those off so that all of our sweet potato waffle fries turn out same doneness and same crispiness. So off to the oven. All right, so these are fresh from the oven. They have cooled down quite a bit. They're still a little warm, so that's great. But what I love about these is, look, you hear that? Super crunchy, super crunchy. Isn't that awesome? You know what would be so good with these? Chick-fil-A sauce. I absolutely love Chick-fil-A sauce. I should be able to mimic it, but I've made some stuff similar, but not quite as good. And you can buy it in a container now in the store. So I love that stuff. So you guys got to give these a try. They're really good. And you also got to give a mandolin a try if you don't already have one. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to Gramercy for the beautiful mandolin. I absolutely love it. And you know, it's not just great for yourself to have on hand. It would make a nice Christmas gift, because Christmas is coming up. It'd make a great gift for someone who just recently moved out of their parents' house, bought a new home, just got married, or somebody who really loves to cook. And I will put the link to this in the description below. So again, I thank you all so much for watching. And you know what else I forgot to mention? All the different things that you can do with it. So, for instance, I wrote these down because they were the first things that came to my mind, but I knew I would forget them later. Homemade pickles, awesome. Cucumber salad, like I mentioned, potato chips, thick or thin, or waffle chips, or waffle fries, like we did. Au gratin potatoes, I use it a lot for that. Fruit for fruit salads, meat and cheeses for charcuterie boards, cabbage, you can shred cabbage for coleslaw, veggie chips, not just to make chips like this, but also to put like on your burgers. I know I like mine to be like a certain thickness, like onions, and also onion rings and tomato slices. You guys saw how amazing that thing sliced tomatoes. So again, I thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.